Good evening. I am Omar Sabah. I was previously working in the Iraqi media in an institution called the Iraq News Agency, one of the formations belonging to the Iraq Media Ministry until 2003. In that period, Paul Bremer, Provisional Coalition Administrator of Iraq, issued decision to cancel several ministries and institutions, including the Ministries of Defense and Media, where the decision ended the period of media in the stage and history of the First Republic of Iraq. In this session, I am trying to give brief summary of the press and media in Iraq before the US occupation of this country in 2003, and how is the nature of its institutions, the ideas and foundation on which the media was based in Iraq, especially during the rule of the Arab Ba'ath Socialist Party from 1968 until the fall of Saddam Hussein regime in 2003. In general, Iraq began publishing the press for the first time with the publication of Al-Zawra in 1869. During the period of the governor Midhat Pasha, when Iraq was under the Ottoman Empire. Here, the Iraqis began a celebration of the press on June 15 every year until now. In 1936, radio broadcasting was known in Iraq. Iraq is one of the Middle East countries that was the first in this field. Also, as the television entered Iraq for the first time in 1956, Iraq was one of the first Arab countries in which this influential media was founded. Since its establishment in Iraq, the audio and visual devices was subject to governmental control within special legislation. But in the publication of books and newspapers was a little bit far from the government influence, except for a few newspapers issued by the government institutions in the royal era, which began in 1921 until the establishment of the Republic on 14 July 1958. The period of monarchy in Iraq had a wide freedom in the writing and publication of opposition newspapers, which sometimes had a role in ending some ministries. After the declaration of the Republic of Iraq on 14 July 1958, the new government was established for the first time Ministry of Guidance, where the supervision by this ministry was on audio, visual and written media absolutely. After the coup of 8 February in 1963, during the period of control nationalist and Ba'athist to power in Iraq, the coup government abolished all the newspaper and magazines. But that government continued only 9 months. And then there was a coup in the political side, lead to removal of Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party from the power. And the presses and media have become in a state of ideological fluctuations. But the Arab Ba'ath social parties restored control power in Iraq after the coup of July 17, 1968. The new ruling had to pass the publication law in line with the ideology of their system. A law was passed for publications number 206 of 1968, which remained in effect until the fall of the regime on 9th of April 2003, which placed the hegemony of the regime on the all media field. That law was full of prohibitions and sanctions, where he made writing against the regime at that time one of the crimes, and the punishment may be reached to the death. Also released the law, the Journalist Syndicate of Iraqi, number 178 of 1969. In general, this syndicate tried to preserve the right of the journalist within the structure of the regime thinking, despite the many criticism against this syndicate, but it has managed to meet some professional and service demands of the journalist, such as land distribution, give financial privileges, and pass a law of the pension fund to ensure good living to the older reporters. As for the visual channels, there was a ground channel, the official Iraqi television, the first and the second channel. There was broadcast in the specific hours of the day and evening, then followed by the third channel in the 1993 called Al-Shabaab TV, which belonged to the Uday, the oldest son of Saddam Hussein, and broadcast a number of the specialized channels belonging to it, such as TV2, Sport TV, and TV series. That channel was showing many films, programs, and songs from Arab satellite and CDs, without taking a license to buy or reproduce. But it was show a different of programs that attracted the Iraqi family and made the Iraqi citizen far from the attention and thinking about the difficult reality of the country in that decade. It was a recreation and propaganda station rather than a professional channel. At the end of the 90s, also saw a broadcast of Iraqi satellite channel, which continued until the fall of the regime in 2003. And about the radio station, there was a Radio Baghdad, which was founded in 1936. It was one of the most professional in the Middle East. Then the Al-Ba'ath government produced a radio voice of the masses, speaking in his name. Then Uday, the son of the Saddam Hussein, founded Radio Al-Shabaab, which is complementary to the television work. And about the newspapers, there was the official newspapers Al-Jumhuriyah, the Republic, which was issued at the beginning of the Republican era in 1958, where it continued to be issued under the authority of the Al-Ba'ath with the new administration and consistent with the thinking of that regime. Then the Al-Ba'ath authority established the publishing house with the great budget, huge buildings, and a large printing presses. It was equipped with the Iraq and Arab writers who announced the affiliation with the Al-Ba'ath and its ideology, although some of them had previously had tendency toward communism. Also published Al-Thawra, the Revolution daily newspaper, with the same Ba'athist ideas. And with the beginning of the Iraq-Iran war in 1980, and to give picture of the championships, the Iraqi army in the battles, Al-Qadisiyah newspaper was issued by the Iraqi Minister of the Defense. And also the magazine Homeland Goddess was also published by the Ministry of the Defense, which was specialized in the military affairs. There was famous magazine in Iraq called the magazine Alif Ba, which it monitored political, culture, artistic, and the social news, both international and local. It was a weekly magazine founded in May 22nd in 1968. The last issue of that magazine was published in April 9th in 2003, where the magazine was ready for distribution, but it was not distributed because of the entry of the US occupation forces to Baghdad. In addition to dozens of the magazine belonging to the state institution. I will talk a little bit also about previous Iraqi Ministry of the Media and the Culture. After the Saddam Hussein became the President of the Republic of Iraq and the head of the Ba'ath parties in 1979, he followed the policy of one thought in the fields of the culture, information, and education. All the media were related to one ministry. It's named the Ministry of the Media and Culture. I will give a quick summary of that ministry. This ministry was legislated by Decree number 94 in 1981. In the first chapter of this decision to form this ministry, where he mentioned that text, the Ministry of the Media and Culture aims to achieve through its activities the following objectives. For example, in the field of the culture, A. Care of culture and artists in all fields, and according to the principles of the Arab Socialist Party and the objectives of the Revolution of 17th and 30 July 1968. B. Restoration of the concept of the Arab and Islamic tradition and the definition of the Arab civilizations, and fight colonialist, Zionist, and capitalist trends in all culture and artistic fields. C. Sponsoring and developing Iraqi national culture and artists of various nationalities in the according with the principles of the Arab Ba'ath Socialist parties. D. The definition of the achievements of the revolutions of 17th and 30 July in 1968, led by the Ba'ath parties and the Arab objectives. E. Clarification of the objectives of the economic and social policy of the revolution of 1968. The fourth articles mention the number of the department belonging in that ministry, including 1. Radio and television, 2. Cinema and theater, 3. General organization of archaeology and heritage, 4. Iraqi news agency, 5. House of the Masses of the Press, 6. Freedom House of Printing, 7. National House for Distribution and Advertising, 8. House of the Culture and Publishing, Kurdish, 9. Department of the Music and Art, 10. Child Culture House. In the end, the previous Iraqi government, and in addition to the international embargo imposed in Iraq in 1990 after the invasion of Kuwait, They worked to monopolize the information and the means of the communication it to the people in Iraq. Inside this country, the source of the presses, regional or international, were not available except in line with the government policy. All the communications were under the control of the security service of the system. There was not expression of the private opinion, and the opposition opinion was a crime against the regime. The French writer and philosopher Voltaire say in his introduction of the Parliamentary Life book, "The truth does not seem clear except in the total freedom, away from the influences that the researcher is exposed to." Therefore, we see in the age of domineering that the people go to the opinion of independent newspapers and far away from the government newspapers, because their source of inspiration and information is known. Thank you very much.